Okay, the results are in. It's from survival mode to inner ease. What am I talking about? These are the results from the poll I set my followers and my subscribers as to what they would like to hear me present about on June the 24th. I'm doing a YouTube live on this channel where I'll be covering some of the new information that's coming out really about the mind-body connection and how emotions are not just feelings. They are physiological regulators and they change the way you experience the world, not just mentally, but physically too, because they change your physiology. And we need to know this stuff. My name is Patricia Warby, Alchemy Therapies, and here I'm working with people one-to-one and also in group programs to help them reverse the effects of long-term chronic stress, usually from childhood experience. Now, why is it that I feel the need to launch a new program when there are so many nervous system resets out there? I mean, really, they're burgeoning. Well, because I think many of them, probably most of them, miss the one factor that I think is really, really significant. And that is past experience that lives on in you as a somatic or body-based imprint. And it's not just people who had severe trauma in their childhood, it's regular folks like you and me. In fact, the estimate is it's about 70% of people coming through a childhood have some form of experience which overwhelmed them at the time and isn't actually resolved as far as their body's concerned and is living on in them as a pattern of stress, which down-regulates a lot of your physiological functions. And then it's not too difficult to imagine why, when a virus comes along or a life event like a divorce or a relationship breakdown or financial stress, that suddenly this stress response that's used to adapting and being able to gear up is actually overwhelmed and crashes you. Now, people with chronic fatigue and long COVID know all about crashes. They know how they feel. They've had years of being told that it's all in their mind, and so maybe some of you listening to this will be saying, oh, she's going down the psychological route. Well, actually, I'm not. I'm saying it's both. It's mind and body interacting. Only modern medicine separates them out. The body doesn't. The brain is part of the body. The vagus nerve connects the two, along with all the other nerves. Your autonomic nervous system is a really, really big factor as to why symptoms are everywhere in the body and why they vary between people and why they persist even when nothing appears to be wrong. In other words, when you've had all the tests and the tests come back negative, there's nothing essentially wrong with you, and yet you feel absolutely terrible. And so I wanted to launch a program that would cover the missing link, as far as I can see it, the missing link being emotional programming. And because that's the last bit I dealt with, I did all the dietary stuff, I did the pacing, I did lifestyle changes, and you know, it worked to a certain extent. It got me probably 50 to 60% better, and but then there was the last 30 to 40%, and I just couldn't get beyond it. And the missing link for me is what happened to me when I was younger, and not realizing, because I didn't have what we call big T trauma. I wasn't abused. I didn't have, you know, addicts for parents or anything that's really overt. I just had some experiences which my sensitive mind couldn't deal with. I'm what's called a highly sensitive person. It's a distinct category, by the way. I'm not just making that up. If you're highly sensitive too, you may well be. This program is for you because obviously I've designed it to appeal to sensitives, because we're not the kind of people that attack something. We need time to process. And so this is an 8-module program called the Emotional Audit, tied in with one-to-one work with me. And I'm so excited to launch it because it's really needed. You know, when I look at the comments in some of the other programs that are online, and you know, some great videos out there. I mean, high quality videos with lots of testimonials of people who've gone through the program. And you still see comments like, you know, I'm still suffering. And we need to know why that is. And this is all unconscious stuff, okay? The part of the brain that records your past experiences is unconscious. It's mostly in your limbic system and your brain stem. Now, I'll be covering that in the presentation on the 24th. By the way, you can register below, because you need to know it's not your fault. It's not something you can fix with willpower and trying and pushing through. You have to be allowed to feel in the presence of a person who you feel safe with. And that's what I do with people. That's how I work through their issues with them. I let them actually experience the emotions it wasn't safe to feel at the time. Whatever happened, happened. And so it's really about coming to grips with your past, but in a way that it can be over. Because the other thing about your limbic brain is that it stores things in a way that feels like it's in the ever-present now. Now, I've been talking about this for the last 13 years, and I've been working with people to get them through. Usually, it's the last thing that they do. They'll have done all the other changes in their lives, and they're just wanting that final stage. But sometimes I get people who are maybe in the middle or at the beginning of their journey, and this program, the reset program that I'm doing, really covers all bases, because it starts you at the beginning. It takes you through some of the essential concepts, but then it introduces you to adverse childhood experiences and how they impact your mind and body, and create a pattern of responses that simply reduces your nervous system's ability to adapt. And then the final straw comes along, whatever that is, and sends your body into crash phase, which is where your mitochondria, your energy centers, just cannot produce enough energy. And that's where people often end up. And we had the very sad story recently of a young woman who was 24 in the UK, 24-year-old woman, who died through malnutrition, basically, because she couldn't swallow. She'd lost the ability to swallow. She was so poorly. And the health service here still doesn't really have the facilities to deal with people for whom there is no overt organic, quote unquote, disease. In other words, there's nothing wrong with the tissues as such. This is a nervous system issue. This is neurological. And it happens because the autonomic nervous system is not able to adapt sufficiently to the stress, the chronic stress that person is under. And of course, once you start to go down the route and symptoms start to increase, then of course there's the fear that kicks in. What's wrong with me? And then the messages you get from the health service, very well-meaning, wonderful people, but the service itself doesn't have an overriding understanding of why this occurs. And there's still all sorts of misinformation out there, even from health professionals. They're not hopefully still telling you it's all in your head and made up. But there is still just such a lack of understanding of what's going on at a cellular level. So if you want to understand the physiology and the psychology, which is really a unique combination, I don't think there's anything out there that covers both of these things, then my nervous system reset just might be an option for you. But look, it's completely up to you to just explore what I'm offering here. The presentation on the 24th of June is completely free, no obligation. Just turn up and come along and hear what I've got to say, because I really think if you or anyone you love is going through an medically unexplained condition like CFSME or chronic anxiety or strange, weird symptoms that, just come and go or move around, things like tinnitus, vertigo, difficulty swallowing, problems with salivary glands. This is all vagal, okay? It's all to do with your vagus nerve. Your vagus nerve is one of the longest nerves in your body. It's one of the most important. But you can't get there by thinking and willing yourself to get better. You need to be going into a deeper level of, I would say, contemplation, understanding and feeling what's going on inside you. And that's really what I'll be talking about. So folks, please, if any of this sounds interesting to you, look in the description below, sign up for my free live webinar. where I'll be taking questions as well. It's going to be about an hour and a quarter, hopefully, and we'll cover whatever you want to cover. But I've got something set up that I want to present to you, which will blow out the water most of the other stuff that you already know. Okay, and if you want to come and see me, you can find me on alchemytherapies.co.uk. Take care of yourselves. Bye for now.